that Brahman is infinite, and this universe is infinite. The infinite proceeds from the infinite. Then, taking the infinitude of the infinite, it remains, this universe, as infinite Brahman alone. Let there be peace in me. Let there be peace in my environment. Let there be peace in the forces that act on me. Brihaspati, the preceptor of the gods, asked the sage Yajnavalkya, which is the Kurukshetra, the famous holy place that destroys sins and protects the good, the place where gods perform sacrifices, and which is the abode of Brahman in all beings. Yajnavalkya replied, Avimukta is the Kurukshetra, where the gods perform sacrifices to deities and which is the abode of Brahman in all beings. Hence, wherever one goes, one shall think thus, this is the Kurukshetra, the place where the gods perform sacrifices to the deities and which is the abode of Brahman in all beings. This is the spot where, when the vital airs depart from the living person, Rudra imparts the mantra, Taraka Brahma, to him by which, becoming immortal, he attains liberation. Hence, one shall resort to the Avimukta, shall not desert the Avimukta. So it is, Yajnavalkya. Verily it is so, O revered one. It is so, Yajnavalkya. Brihaspati approved of the statement. Thereafter, the sage Atri, the son of Creator Brahma, asked to Yajnavalkya, how am I to realize the self which is infinite and unmanifest? To this, Yajnavalkya replied, that Avimukta, Lord Shiva as the Redeemer, is to be worshipped. The self, which is infinite and unmanifest, is established in the Avimukta. Which is that place where Avimukta is established? He is established in between Varana and Nasi. What is meant by Varana and what is meant by Nasi? The Varana is so called as it wards off all the faults committed by the 10 organs of perception and action. The Nasi is so named as it destroys all sins committed by the 10 organs. The place between the Varana and the Nasi is the meeting place of the upper part of the nose and the center of the eyebrows. Which is the seat of that Avimukta? That which is the well-known juncture of the eyebrows and the nose is the juncture of heaven. And this world? The knowers of the Veda worship indeed this juncture, Samadhi, as Sandhya in their daily worship. That Avimukta is to be worshipped. He who knows this thus imparts the wisdom of the Avimukta, that the individual self is no other than the attributeless Brahman, to his disciples. Then the disciplined students, Brahmacharyans of Yajnavalkya, asked him, pray, tell us, what is that mantra by reciting which one attains immortality? He replied, by reciting Saturdriya. These mantras are indeed the names of Rudra to achieve immortality. By reciting these mantras, one becomes immortal. Then Janaka, the king of the Videhas, respectfully approached Yajnavalkya and requested him, Revered Sir, expound to me the tenets of renunciation, sannyasa. Yajnavalkya then replied, after completing the period of disciplined studentship, brahmacharya, one may become a householder. After being a householder, he may become a forest dweller, vanaprastha. After become a vanaprastha, he may renounce the world and thus become a mendicant monk. Or alternatively, he may embrace renunciation from brahmacharya itself, or from the stage of a householder, or from the forest life of a vanaprastha. He can also be that. A person may renounce worldly life that very day on which distaste for it dawns on him, whether he is one not observing the vows or observing them, whether he has undergone the prescribed ablutions on completing the disciplined studentship or not, whether he is one who has discontinued maintaining the sacred fire at the death of his wife, utsanagni, or is one who does not maintain, for other causes, the sacred fire, anagnika. Some lawgivers prescribe the sacrifice called prajapatya, of which the god Brahman is the presiding deity. The sacrifice called prajapatya to a twice-born before he embraces renunciation. But though thus laid down, he may not do so. He shall only perform the sacrifice in which Agni is the deity, for Agni is the vital breath prana. Thereby, he does strengthen the vital breath. He shall then perform the Tradavya sacrifice, for the three forms of Agni in him, namely Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, are strengthened by this sacrifice. Having performed the sacrifice, he shall smell the smoke of the holy fire, reciting the following mantras. O fire, this vital breath is your source. As you are born from Sutratman, at the proper time you shine forth. Knowing him, the Atman, your ultimate source, may you merge in him. May you increase our wealth. Verily, this is the source of fire, namely the vital air. So what is said by this mantra is, may you go unto your source, Swaha. Having procured the holy fire from the house of a well-versed Vedic scholar in the village, he shall smell the holy dyer as described previously. If he is unable to procure the holy fire, he shall offer the oblation in water, for water is verily all the gods. Reciting, I offer the oblation to all the gods, Swaha. He shall tend the oblation and picking up a small portion of the offered oblation, which is mixed with ghee, he shall eat it, as this is beneficial. The mantra of liberation, namely Om, is the essence of the three Vedas. This he shall realize. It is Brahman, and it is to be worshipped. Indeed, so it is, O revered Yajnavalkya, said Janaka. Then the sage Atri asked Yajnavalkya, may I ask you, Yajnavalkya, how is one without the sacred thread a Brahman? Yajnavalkya replied, the conviction I am, the self alone, is his sacred thread. He shall then sip water ceremoniously thrice. This is the method enjoined on those who renounce worldly life. In the case of Kshatriyas and others not entitled to renunciation, they may seek liberation in the path of the brave, who court death in the battlefield, or fast unto death as a discipline, or enter into water to rise no more, or enter fire to be burned to ashes, or undertake the great journey in which they collapse by exhaustion. Then, in the case of those entitled to renunciation, the mendicant monk wearing ochre-colored garment, with shaven head, accepting nothing except food for bare sustenance, being pure, enduring none in thought, word, or deed, austerity, living on alms, becomes fit for realizing Brahman. If sorely afflicted by disease, he may renounce the world by mental resolve, or by spoken words uttering mantras. This way of renunciation has been prescribed by Brahma, the creator in the Vedanta. The ascetic, the sannyasin who has renounced the world, following this path realizes Brahman. Thus indeed it is, O revered Yajnavalkya, appreciated Janaka. There are sages called Paramahamsas, as in the days of yore. Samavartaka, Aruni, Swetaketu, Durvasa, Ribu, Nidaga, Jadabharata, Datratre, Raivataka, and others, wearing no distinguishing marks, with conduct beyond the ken, and who behaved as though bereft of their senses through perfectly sane. Discarding all these, namely the threefold staff, the water pot, the sling, the arms, bowl, the clothes for purifying water, tufts of hair and sacred thread in water, by reciting Bhuva Swaha, the Paramahamsa shall seek the Atman. Possessing a form as one just born, unclad, unaffected by the appears of opposites such as heat and cold, pleasure and pain, accepting nothing except bare sustenance, well established in the path of truth of Brahman, of pure mind, receiving alms into the mouth, literally into the vessel of the belly, at the prescribed hour in order to sustain life, becoming equanimous at gain or loss, sheltering himself without an abode of his own, in an unoccupied house, a temple, a clump of tall grass or heap of straw, an anthill, the shade of a tree, a potter's hut, a cottage where sacred fire is kept, sandy bank of a river, a mountain thicket or cavity, a hollow in a tree, the vicinity of waterfall or a piece of a clean ground, making no efforts in any kind of gainful activity, free from mindness, sense of possessiveness, ever meditating on Brahman, devoted to the self, ever intent on eradication of good and bad karma, the sage finally gives up his body in the state of renunciation. Such sage is indeed a Paramahamsa. Thus ends the Upanishad. That Brahman is infinite, and this universe is infinite. The infinite proceeds from the infinite, then taking the infinitude of the infinite, it remains as the infinite Brahman alone. Om. Let there be peace in me. Let there be peace in my environment. Let there be peace in the forces that act on me. Here ends the Jabala Upanishad belonging to the Shukla Yajurveda.